Peace, everyone. Welcome to the Speaking for Profit podcast. I'm Evolve Benton, the Speaking for Profit strategist. And today's conversation is all about leadership and leaning into momentum. I've got my friend, an amazing client here, Victor Simmons, a speaker, a leadership consultant, an executive coach, a father, an amazing human being. And after this episode, I could say a S4P podcast alum as well. Victor, welcome to the
Yeah.
show.
Well, Evolve, thanks for having me. I was a student watching you bringing, folks on, and now I'm one of them. Oh, this is just warming my heart. Thank you.
I know, and I always appreciate you, Victor, in particular. I actually connected you with someone earlier this week because I know that when you connect with people, they're going to leave with something special. And that's how I describe you when I do introduce you to people, right? Because you're always willing to give knowledge, information, love, affirmation, and I appreciate you. So I would just want to start off by shouting out Dr. Christine Coleman, who introduced us, right?
Yes.
Probably about a year ago, and was actually one of my clients and my students way in the beginning of Speaking for Profit, but continues to share her story with the world, heal with the world as a therapist. And you actually brought Christine in as a speaker at one of your organizations you were working with, right? Is that how you all met?
Yeah. I was working with Atelier Ace, and I was just searching, looking for speakers for some programming I was doing around Hispanic Heritage Month, and somehow found her and invited her in. Not just once. I brought her back because I was so enamored with what she brought. Just as you know, right? Just her aura, just her energy, her expertise. And so I brought her back a second time for something entirely different. And so it was great to, and we continue to, we touch base every like once a quarter. We'll reach out and connect with each other. So
Such
I
an
was so happy
amazing
that
human being.
she introduced us.
Yeah. She introduced us y'all via email. Said, "Hey, Victor
Yeah.
is launching his speaking business, and I think you all should connect." So I love when this happens because one, I love referrals. I feel like that's like, and we'll talk about business today because you're a businessman. But I also love like genuine connection. And when Christine wrote that email, I could tell it wasn't just like, oh, this is someone who's gonna sometimes waste your time. Because sometimes you get those kind of introductions. The person doesn't
Yeah.
make the call, right? They don't show up. So it was beautiful to talk to you. So Victor, before we work together, can you tell the audience a little bit about like what you were doing in the world? Because I know we put in the description like hospitality leadership, and some people are like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean as far as a job? So if you could educate us a little bit on your journey as
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Happy to. So I am a longtime hospitality guy. I grew up in the business, went to school for it, and started out in restaurants. Actually, started out in fast food. I was,
Oh,
Carl's
wow.
Jr. was where I first started. I was
Okay.
flipping burgers and doing that. Then got into restaurants. Then got into hotels. And in all those positions, even years getting into hotels was all frontline positions. So I was doing anything you could think about in hospitality: washing dishes, mopping floors, bussing tables. I did all of that, and then even front desk, all these front level positions initially while I was going to school. And I wanted to get into as many departments as I could because I wanted to understand the business. I was planning on making that my career. And so you name it, I did it, excluding probably finance and accounting. Not probably, I definitely did not. If I had to add, subtract, multiply, divide, I ain't doing it. So
You said that's not your zone of genius, huh?
that is not it. That is not it. I make sure I have folks that know how to do that are on my team. And so I did a number of those hourly frontline positions, and then eventually got into leadership, and then rose all the way up to vice president of human resources, head of diversity, equity, and inclusion for a lifestyle international hotel brand, and did that up until 2024, and now I'm out doing doing my own thing. I was, for your listeners, I was treating speaking as a side hustle because I had been doing that for a number of years. Even though I was VP of HR, from time to time, I would do a training with their permission. I was able to do some training outside of my main role because there were a number of creatives within that company, and they did that as well, and so I was able to do that. But it was really as a side hustle, and then I realized in working with you that wait a minute, maybe we should be shifting that and changing that into a formalized business. So
I love that. I love that. So did everything you said, right? Like washing dishes,
I did,
everything in a
yeah,
hotel. So one
yeah,
thing people always want to know, this is a little bit of a side quest, but we can go on a side quest together.
yeah.
Is there any way that we can guarantee we get great service at a hotel? Like, are there things that we could be doing better as the customer when we go into a hotel to make sure that we get good service? Like, should we be tipping everybody? Is it about the energy, right? Because some people get room upgrades, some people don't. Like, how does
Yeah,
this look?
that's an interesting question. I mean, my first reaction is no. I mean, the hotel has to be on point, and they're going
Yeah.
to deliver great service no matter what you do. That is really what's supposed to happen. But yeah, if you go in there, being rude, yeah, you're definitely not going to get. If there was an opportunity for someone to upgrade you, which does not happen often, quite frankly. If you don't have loyalty points and you're just walking in for the first time, but certainly if you are nice, there might be some opportunities where someone will then return that favor in kind, certainly. But most of the time, they're doing it based on whatever rate you're paying, and but
Mhm.
it does help if you slide a little bit of money over. That might help, but that's not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee either. I tried that in Vegas, and it did work, but that's not always a guarantee.
Yep, exactly, exactly. Actually, for my birthday, stayed at the Wardolph, which was a really nice hotel. I think it was my first time staying at
Where?
something. The Wardolph?
Waldorf, maybe?
Yes,
Or
yes,
what?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
what city were you in?
Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah,
Very
yeah,
fancy.
yes.
Very, very fancy. And I was like, I didn't even know that they could be this nice at
Oh,
this
yeah,
kind
the
of hotel.
Waldorf is part of the Hilton brand, and that is their top tier. So they
Okay.
have, Hilton Select service, which is limited services, then Hilton Full service, and
Okay.
then and they probably have lifestyle division now, I'm sure as well, because everybody does. But
Yeah.
Waldorf would be like their top one, or Marriott JW would be the top tier.
Yeah.
So if you see Marriott's full
Eduardo,
service, you see a JW,
Eduardo, they can get me every time, Victor. I would live there. It was amazing. I mean, every
yeah,
time they open the door, they're so polite. We did the spa. It was great.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
you were the one to make sure that experience that I had is amazing for everyone. Like you're in leadership at these hotels. That was probably the position you had when you started to pivot into thinking about speaking full time. Would you say that?
In a couple of different roles. At one point, I was in front office where you're managing the rooms, and I was the director of front office. And certainly, that's one of the first experiences you have when you arrive at a hotel. You're probably seeing a bell person that's under front office. Then you're checking at the desk. That's the front desk agent. That's part of the front office. And your first experience is usually what's going to set the tone for your stay. And
Yeah.
so I was involved in that role at one point. But as I got moved into human resources, I would say, even though now I am not facing customers any longer, but my role had a tremendous impact on what customer service looked like because I was responsible for training, properly
Mhm.
onboarding new employees that would come into a hotel, making sure they understood what our brand was, what our values are, what our service standards are, and then the training behind that, make sure that there was policies and clarity around that. And yeah, as an HR director, area director, VP in human resources, you could have a tremendous impact on whether you have a consistently good
Yeah.
stay or a poor stay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, you can see the difference, right? That experience and then staying in other spaces, I can tell that it's connected to the leadership. And one
Yes.
thing that I do feel that's missing in hospitality is good training and customer service. Like it feels very much like people are not being trained on saying hello and just some of those basic
Yeah.
things. So I
Yeah.
say that to say Victor, we probably miss you over there. Like, I'm enjoying you being a speaker. You're on this book tour. Things are going amazing, but I mean, it's really impacting the industry right now.
Oh my gosh. I wish that were true. I appreciate the sentiment. But yeah, service has fallen off for a number of reasons. One, hospitality has been shorter and shorter staffed.
Hmm.
They During the pandemic, a lot of people were sick and tired of how they were treated. Hospitality
Yeah,
sometimes is notorious for um, poor hours, low pay. And so when the
hmm,
pandemic hit and it was time to start bringing people back to work, a lot of people were like, nah, man, I figured it out. I got Uber, I got a bakery selection going on. I'm selling candles now. I'm not going back. I'm going to be my own boss. So you had that to contend with. You had more duties now with
yeah,
less resources. There was a lot of that going on. And so, and then you have leaders who are simply just burned out. The ones that survived that, it was a nightmare living
yeah,
through that, personally and professionally, trying to run a hotel with limited resources, with all of the confusion, and they're burnt out.
yeah,
And lastly, what typically happens is you take a leader or a person who was great giving customer service as, say, a front desk agent, great
hmm,
gift to gab, and then poof, make them a manager now because everybody's gone. So, okay, you're next. You get out there. Now you be a manager. And
yeah.
they don't give them the training. And
Mm,
then everything else crumbles up below that because there hasn't been that training and you don't have that leadership direction and you just don't have a good base and everything falls apart.
yeah. Well, you would know, and I mean, we can feel it, right? Events, hospitality, all has changed since the pandemic, but
Yes.
I just love to hear the journey because I think that sometimes people think you have to one, you had these soft skills that allowed you to start to build yourself as a speaker, but you weren't in necessarily directly in that type of field your whole time, right? So I think it just shows the listeners that you can kind of move through, right, different opportunities. And even you said you were waiting tables, having conversations with customers and clients, and being able to do that can help you to develop those skills to be a speaker one day.
Yeah, I even at one point, a large portion of my career, I was in events. So I
Mm,
was what was called an event services manager, convention services manager. And one of your roles, when you have a convention that's coming onto your property, you're the general manager for that group, and they have what's called a pre-convention meeting. And
mhm,
that pre-convention meeting will be all of your managers. So I was at the JW Marriott, Desert Springs in California, and that's a huge property, 880 something rooms, 100,000 square feet of meeting space. So you have maybe 45 managers, leaders that are in this meeting. And then if you're having a large group, you could have maybe 20 what's called trip directors that are there along with the main trip, the main contact. So
mhm.
you're holding a meeting for 75 people and you're running
They've been
as the event
practicing.
manager, you're running it. So I got a taste of public speaking, which I'm an introvert. It's not something that I was always nervous doing that. It was always a challenge to do it. But the more I did them, the better, the easier it got. I was always still nervous, but none of that still prepared me for having being a speaker, a paid speaker, because that's an entire business, and I definitely did
Mhm.
not have that. So maybe I had some of those skills to help me be on stage, but I didn't have the skills of how you go out and prospect and how you
Yeah.
build your business around that, and then being able to maintain it. I learned that working with you.
Yes, yes, yes. So, but you had a beginning, right? And I love that. And I
Yes.
what I appreciate about what you came with Victor, you came with the assets, right? Like you had a vision. You're like, I have this story about my dad. I want to write this
Yes.
signature talk. I have this leadership framework that I've been using for years. I want to put it in a
Yes.
book, right?
Yeah.
Like you had a great vision, and all we needed to do was put fire on it and build out some business development to connect you to decision makers that will want to bring you in, right?
Yeah.
So it made the work easier because you had that. A lot of folks sometimes don't have the vision. So my one of my first questions for you, let's shift to public speaking,
Sure.
is how did you have so much clarity around what you wanted to do? Was that something that you built at your job? Is that just, calling on you because your dad was like, hey, you need to get my story out there? But how did you come upon that vision of wanting to put that together?
Yeah, I someone was pushing me to be the entrepreneur. I was very, very reluctant to be an entrepreneur. I was still looking for work, quite frankly. I was
Mhm.
still looking for the next VP role. But then when I came to the decision that okay, I'm going to build a business, I decided, well, I need to have a signature. And part of that signature, I did want to honor the men in my family. I wanted to honor my great grandfather, grandfather, and my father. And I wanted to tell their story because I thought that that was, and I still feel that that's very important to get those stories out there. We all have stories that need to be told. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to do that because I knew that their story, that's part of my story, is how I lead people. And I
Mhm.
knew that if I was going to be a speaker, that I wanted a signature. I wanted my business card. I wanted what is my brand, and all of that just sort of came together as I just described it right now, which I think were important components for being a keynote speaker. And so I developed um, from that story about my father and grandfather into a keynote, and then it turned into I could continue to do this in a book. Really, again, back to you because you had done a session on writing a book over a weekend,
Mhm.
and I was like, really? Because I had no intention of writing a book, quite frankly. But when
Yes.
I thought this person was pushing me to do that, write a business book initially, and I said, well, if I could do that in a weekend and knock that out, then hey, let's get going. It does. Maybe through AI you could do it, but for what I needed to do, it took longer than a weekend, but I was still able to get it done relatively quickly. I mean, within the year, I did get not one, but I'm proud to say I got 3 books done, and so I think that it was helpful for all of the things that I needed to do.
Yeah, definitely. And what you did was so key, Victor, because you have a speech. It can be turned into a book. Eventually, it could be a workbook. It could be a documentary, right? You have this center theme, and then you have this amazing career. So that intersection of that, like, it just makes it super powerful. So let's talk about like business strategy, because some people geek out on this. Like you seen that video, and you were like, you know what, I could write a book in a weekend, right? And somebody might see this and they might be thinking, I can actually become a professional speaker. When you think about the work that you do every day to make sure that you're able to go on this amazing book tour that you're on, like what is the center of that? Like what does your schedule look like? Like, are you sending outreach emails? Are you doing podcast interviews? What does it look like to grow your brand as a speaker?
Yeah, it is a lot. It it's a lot, and for me, the thing I think about is because I didn't have the expertise, but I knew that if I kept putting one foot in front of the other and kept going forward, I would start picking up more and more knowledge. So my day back then, which is still actually today looks very similar to what it was back then. Maybe I didn't have as many podcasts. I did do one earlier this morning, and so I am doing more of those. But It is, I might be doing some education. I might be watching, as I was doing, the academy with you, or I was doing something, I was watching something on YouTube. So that's the first part of my morning is doing that. Then it might then be transitioning to, I'm doing a lot on LinkedIn, as you probably have seen. So I'm working on that. That takes a ton of time, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm spending time on that, and then I move on to the next thing, which might have been at that time was putting in another chapter or editing the previous chapter. So I was always, my days were 18-hour days,
Mm-hmm.
almost always, and I'm just constantly going. Now, I will say anybody can do it. I know that I am built a little bit differently growing up. Again, back to my father, who was military. When you're a child in a military family, at least for our family, if you were not in school, then you were in a sport, and if you weren't in a sport, then you were in a club, and if you weren't in that, you were doing homework, and if you
Yeah,
weren't, if you, and
structure.
then maybe you might have had some own free time. So I was used to always, you go from one thing to the next, and that is how I found I was able to do each of those things as they came my way. Like I would read something and go, oh, so now I'm going to have to do that. Or like the TED Talk. I had no when I met you, I had no intention of doing a TED Talk, but then I realized, oh, that's something that I'm gonna that would help what I'm doing. And now that you mentioned it, documentary, that was part of the process when I was thinking of, now that the books were done and I wanted to get my father's story even further out, I learned, oh, you need to do a documentary. So now that's something that I'm starting to work on now.
Okay, definitely. So 18-hour days, working on something, very disciplined, right? What are like a few things that you learned within the academy that you're still using today in your business, or that kind of helped you with producing your books and also putting together your signature talk?
I think the key was, for me, was the pitch contest,
Mm-hmm.
and or the session before that, which was learning how to do the pitch and then doing the pitch contest. Because even though I had spent, I was a sales manager. I was booking business for La Quinta Resort and Club, which is a Waldorf Astoria now. It was not at the
Okay,
time.
okay. I'm about to
And
check that one out too.
yes, La Quinta, California, Palm Springs area, and I was a sales manager. I had the Southeast market and the Northwest market, and for associations, and I hated the sales part of it. I loved being a sales manager because I'm going out and meeting folks in San Francisco, bringing them donuts, taking them out to dinner. And I loved that. Obviously, I'm a very relationship based person. What I didn't like was asking for the sale and then following up. And it's in my book. I absolutely hate hearing the word no. I feel it in my bones. And I don't like that part. But I know that in order for you to get business, you got to go through a lot of no's to get a yes. And I don't like it. Um, but
Yeah,
going
that's
through the
real.
course with you made me, one, fine tune my pitch. And then because of the contest, and I am competitive, I was forced to go out and hit, I wanted to hit 20 a day. I wanted to then get, once I got to 20, I wanted to get to 25. And I knew that others were doing it. And I'm watching and seeing who's put doing more pitches. And so that helped me get through that, which is the same thing as speaking. I know it, but you just got to do it to get through it. The more you get through it, the more easier it is to hear a no. So because okay, I'm about to get a yes now.
Hmm. Yeah, building that momentum, right? And that's why we do the pitch competition. One, we know people are competitive. People love a game. I know I do.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. But two, once you're in the momentum and the competition is over, a lot of times people keep it going, especially when they get a win, right? So they'll submit a
Yeah.
pitch and they'll get selected for a conference. And even if it's a conference and where it's like, it was okay, oh, it's because I did those pitches last month. So
Yeah.
what can happen if I do that for myself again? So I'm happy that you had something in the system to kind of get you started with the TED Talk that you did, right? Because you did this TED Talk. When was this? This was in the spring of this year?
I did it in May. I just did it May 23rd, and it just came out maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what preparation looks like for a TED Talk. Like, how did you prepare? How were you doing applications? I know you were working with one of our colleagues, Cesar
Yeah,
Cervantes, for a little bit. Yeah.
same thing. I saw you invited Caesar on to a podcast, and I watched that. And as it turns out, I ended up meeting with Caesar. And as it turns out, Caesar had a former student, which is someone I hired as a speaker for my one of my the last company I was with, who was also in hospitality.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
so,
Okay.
yeah. And then Caesar also sent me someone else who I didn't know that was also in hospitality. And when I saw this person who I had worked with and I knew she had done the TED Talk back then, I just didn't know that she had worked with Caesar. I decided I would work with Caesar. So there's coaching that's involved with that. Applications, you got to put in a large number of applications in order to hit to get
How many do you
to.
think you put in before you got a yes?
I
What's a
got
large
third. I
amount?
got to about 31 or 32,
Okay.
and when I got to that, I got a. Well, I gotta let. We'd like to interview you. So that the process. They're all of them are privately. They're all individually run. They're all volunteer roles, and so I got two out of that 32. I got actually I got three that said yes. The
Okay.
first one that said yes, not yes, they said we'd like to know more and we'd like to interview you. So the first one that said that, I interviewed with them, and that in that process there were maybe 30 or so that they said yes to, and I made it through those 30 to become one of four, to be able to speak. And then the other two, I ended up having to tell them, hey, I've already got one. And so now I'm working with them actually, though, on maybe doing a second one. Perhaps now you have to pitch another idea to them. So the
Okay.
other
So you
work
couldn't
we
do
have.
more than one in a year? Is that a rule that they have, or?
Uh, not that I know of, but the one, for example, number two that came forward, they were working on this year and next year, and we are talking about doing one next year,
Okay.
uh, right now. And quite frankly, the third one that I responded to, I never did hear back from them, and because I was busy with the TED Talk I was working on and my book tour, I haven't followed up with them, and that's key, is
Yeah.
following up, because
Yep.
again, they're volunteer, they don't really have a staff, and if you don't get back to them, they're going to move on to the next person.
Yeah. Follow up is so important, especially with the TED Talks, right?
Yeah,
Because people don't realize that every group is a different group, right? Like I've had clients who've worked with TED groups who were extremely organized, and they were like, and then I've worked with some clients who've been like, they were late. I was afraid the event wasn't going to happen, right? Like, so
yeah,
they're hosted
yeah.
by these amazing volunteers who give their time, and every group is ran differently.
That's
So
absolutely right. And yeah, some are better than others. Quite frankly, is what I learned. The group
yeah.
that we were with, shout out to UCSD, San Diego. They and well, that was the other thing. So I get the email, and so we set up an appointment for the interview, and then I show up on the Zoom call, and these people are like 12 years old.
Because they're
Now,
students, right? They're students. Yeah,
I'm
college
joking,
students.
but they were students. They were
Yeah.
students, and um And at first I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute, they're students. How is this going to be? But it turned out to be great. They were a good group of students, very, very helpful. They help you along the way. So I had a coach, but I also had that team there, and they assigned someone to, or a group, a team with you, and they help you. They look at what you've done already that I did with Caesar, and then they make. I went back and forth between that group and Caesar on fine tuning, adding, putting what I felt was better. And, do I listen to Caesar? Do I listen to the students? I had, you deal with all of that. And that's part of that process, is developing your talk to make sure it gets past the pitch stage, the interview stage. Then they're going to start putting in their 2 cents into it, as well as whatever your coach says, if you have one. And then you need to memorize that, which is something I hadn't done. I have, again, as an HR director, talk about leadership all the time, VP, talk about leadership all the time. But now I'm doing a 14 plus minute talk that I need to memorize. And that was something I hadn't done. I will tell you this, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Was doing the TED Talk. For me, it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
To date.
Well, you make me want to do it. So, I'm gonna actually really apply, y'all. I've been saying I'm gonna do a TED Talk, but the applications are, it's work, y'all. Putting in 30, 40 applications for one year. I was watching, do you know who Keke Palmer is? Of course, you probably know Keke.
Yeah.
She did an interview with Oprah Winfrey. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you watched it on the podcast?
I did.
Okay, right? An amazing interview. But Keke did a TED Talk. And Oprah was very you did a TED Talk. I want to do that, but I'm kind of nervous because you have to memorize it. Y'all, even Auntie Oprah feels like this might be a challenge. So after I seen her do it, her talk about it, I was like, I might be able to get connected to Oprah if I do my TED Talk.
Let me tell you about my family. So I do all this work on this thing, and I'm gearing up. I'm about to fly out to San Diego, and I'm at a relative's house, and they just saw Keke's podcast, and they're like, and I hadn't seen it yet. Didn't even know she had done one. She's the one, this cousin of mine's telling me about it, and she pulls it up. And I watch this thing, and she is fabulous. Yes, she just makes it look like it is the easiest thing in the world. And I'm like, I probably did not need to see this. I mean, it just, because she's an she's an actress, and she just made it look like it was like, and I that's what I want to be, is like that. And it just made me that much more. I was completely afraid. I was completely scared. What is the biggest word of being afraid? Whatever that is, that's how I was about doing this thing up until you get to the famous words, "Thank you." I was still like petrified until I said.
So your family member sent you Keke's TED Talk?
No, we were at her daughter's house for a family event. We were doing, I don't remember what it was. We were celebrating something, and we were about to eat. And she was like, "Oh," she knew that I was doing a TED Talk. "Oh, you're doing a TED Talk? Oh, Keke, have you seen Keke's? She did a TED Talk. We need to watch it right now. It's really good." And she puts it on, and I watch that thing, and I'm like,
so y'all don't watch Keke's before you go on the stage. That's what I'm hearing. But you killed it, Victor. Your TED Talk is very well done. I love it because I got to hear it, y'all, when it was a rough draft, right? And on the S4P stage. So to see how you took our feedback, took Caesar's feedback, took the amazing students, UCSD. I used to work at the University of California, so shouts out to everyone over there. But you took all the feedback and made it something that not only is an amazing story, but I think really will empower people. It's just so beautiful to see the breadth of work that you put together. So if y'all have not, please go on YouTube, look up Victor Simmons TEDx Talk. It will pop up. We'll put the link right in the description of this video, but y'all watch it, share it with your friends and family. I think this is a great thing for people to send out to the people that they love in their lives, right? The
Yeah.
fathers, the brothers, the uncles, right? To really like anchor in the importance of storytelling, and just such a good TED Talk. So y'all, please, if y'all
Thank
haven't
you.
already, go listen to it. Go watch it. Go watch it.
Yeah.
And then you can watch Kiki, right? Like watch Kiki after, but watch
Yeah.
Victor first.
Yes. Yeah, please do. And two things I would say about that, what you just said that I would want to add, and I think for your listeners is good, is feedback. Feedback, and I know I learned that early on in my career, feedback is a gift. And that's why I had a coach. That's why I was working with you, because I know that even the best professional in sports, the best that are in their game, they have coaches, and
Yeah.
they are even better. So I knew that. The other thing that was a surprise to me and that I had to change from what I first started out as my keynote was, again, as much as I'm obviously very biased about my father. He is, but my father, my grandfather, those are larger than life guys. They're my heroes for sure, and they did some incredible things. Both of them did some very incredible things for what they for where they were in life. But for a TED Talk, it needs to be an idea that anyone anywhere in the world could say, "Oh, let me take that. That's going to help me." And initially, as you know, my talk was cool, inspiring to a certain extent, but it was not, it wasn't something that you could then take and
Yeah.
do something with. And
Very true.
so I then had to, as I started working with Caesar, like make sure that that is something that people will be able to, someone around the world could go, oh yeah, let me take that. And that's going to help me accomplish this. And I think I was able to do that with this talk now.
I love that. Y'all, if you've been thinking about doing a TED Talk, this is your answer of yes. I think that some people think about TED Talks the wrong way. They think about it as it's going to get me more business. And yes, that can happen, y'all. You can do a great TED Talk, get a million views, people go buy your book, buy your stuff. But what I'm hearing from you is it's also personal development as a speaker, right? Like it's made you a
Yeah.
better speaker. So I'm sure if you were to write another keynote today, the tools that you learn there to prepare you for that stage could prepare you to do an amazing commencement speech, right? Or
Yeah.
speak at the
Yeah.
Obama Center, right? That was built in Chicago. Like it could really prepare you for those other stages as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing I would say. And that's what I'm doing now, is getting in the reps. You got to get the reps in to be able to develop that, because I now, yes, I could, with leadership, I can hit any stage, but now I may need to craft my talk for, the Association of Riveters or for the Medical Association of what have you. And so I need to get in the reps so that I can then easily shift my story so that it resonates with that particular association or that. I think I have a good topic that hits anywhere, any industry, because of that. But I think you still need to get in the reps and do those so that you can be a flawless, effortless storyteller. So you got to get the reps in.
Okay, so you did the TED Talk. You got 3 books. I thought it was only 2, so we could talk about the third. But you're
Yes,
you're on a book tour right now, Victor.
I
Like
am.
it's
I
really
am.
cool. I mean, I have seen you on the LinkedIn traveling the world, sharing your story. People are coming out. They're not just coming out, y'all, and just going to the event. They look nice. Like y'all looking good in the event. Y'all are dressed up. I have noticed that. I'm like, Victor got on like a suit. Like everyone is looking good. Like this is a VIP type of experience. So share with the audience a little bit about like how you decided to go on this book tour, what the experience has been like, and any tips you might give for other folks who are dropping books this year.
Yeah, well, that is the other thing. So getting the book out there was a challenge, and I was able to accomplish that. Book done, great,
Mhm.
it's out. But what you don't, and I actually interviewed coaches for that, and I selected a hybrid publisher because I am a visionary. I am not a process person. So I needed someone to say, okay, you're going to use this cover that is this dimension, I don't, I don't like dealing with all of that stuff. So they helped me with that and helped me get on. It allows me to say what I love saying as an author. My books are everywhere books are sold. And the
Yeah.
publisher helped me with that. But what a hybrid publisher does not help you with, unless you pay extra for, is getting your book to be visible. It might be on Barnes and Noble online. It is on Amazon online, but it's just sitting there. Now
Yeah,
you
you
need
gotta
to
market it.
you gotta market it so that people will then come and get it. So I what I did was I started my career, although I'm from Maryland, I really grew up in Palm Springs, California, and that's where my career was. I now live in Orlando after being in New Jersey for 7 winters, right? So and I was in Orange County, California also at one point. So I went back to Palm Springs because that is where things really started for my career. And that's where I have a lot of contacts in the hotels. And so here's the first tip that I was able to do. And I think any author, not just because I was in hotels, but here's a tip that I learned from another book author was I ended up working out a trade with the hotel in Palm Springs. And I said, hey, I have this book, Presence Driven Leader. I can do what's called the Presence Lab. It's a half-day training session that I'll do for all of your leaders. That is a $12,000 program. And in
Mm.
return, I need you to do a book launch party for me. And that's what we did.
Oh,
So I did half day
okay.
session in the morning, and it's the Palm Springs Riviera Hotel, Palm Springs, California. Fabulous. We did it in the lobby, floor to ceiling windows. It looks out over Palm Springs Canyon area. Beautiful, gorgeous. I had a DJ. I had a videographer. I had some and hors d'oeuvres that they did. And because I'm in the hotel business, yeah, I put all of those together. I planned it. Um, and so, yeah, there's a lot of splash. I had step and repeat so we can get pictures, and I
Yes.
had a banner, and we had a fabulous time. So I did that with book one, and then I came back around and did that with book two, also in June. So my first book came out in March. My second book came out in June, and I did it in Palm Springs. In June, I went back to do the second one, and then I went on a summer book tour, and I went out to Mobile, Alabama, because my father he hails from Nymph, Alabama, unincorporated portion of one particular unincorporated town, still unincorporated to this day.
Oh,
So I
wow.
wanted to go where he started on this farm, and Nymph, there isn't anything there. So I went to Mobile, which is where my grandmother lived, Mobile, Alabama, and they had an event there called Culture Fest. And so I spoke at Culture Fest. And then the next day I went to Barnes and Noble and I did a book signing there. And then I went out to New Orleans because I was speaking with a hotel conference called Hospitality Hued, which is for Black and Brown folks in the hospitality business. And I was one of a handful of speakers at that conference. But what I also did was I reached out to one of my former HR directors who was that used to be at one of my hotels. She's at a different hotel now. And I reached out to her to say, hey, I'm coming in town for Hospitality Hued. And because I'm already going to be there, you wouldn't have to pay for my travel. And I could do a leadership session. And
Yes.
she said, let's do it. And so I did 2 sessions there, one on leadership about my book, and I also did something else that I'm qualified to do, which is called I Am Remarkable. Oh, we did that with
Yep.
your group.
Yep. We're
So
speaking profit. Yep.
I did an I Am Remarkable session with their leadership team, and then there's a black-owned bookstore in New Orleans. There's two. One of the two, I did a book signing event DJ. One of the DJs that used to work for me or work for my company. They're good guys, somebody I mentored, and I reached out to him and he said, yeah, let me do it. And he's well known there as a DJ. And he helped me get into a radio station there. So I did a radio station.
Working your network, Victor. I love it.
Yeah. So I did a radio station there on Monday. The Royal Sonesta hotel, then the Hospitality Hued conference, and then the book signing. And then I just got back from Akron, which is where my grandfather, he migrates, when there was this, everybody was leaving the South, getting away from Jim Crow laws, and goes north, and he moves to Ohio and starts his life there. My father joins him there when he's 14. So I wanted to kind of put a flag in my summer tour there. And I went out for a baby shower with family members, the same one that showed me Keke Palmer's thing. Her daughter's pregnant and has a baby shower. And quite frankly, I wasn't, now they're going to hear it if they hear the podcast. I wasn't excited about going to a baby shower, but it was in Akron.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to plant a flag there. So I reached out to a bookstore there, 2 bookstores. One responded. Well, here's life as an author. Both responded. One, they said yes, but then they ended up having problems with their space and no longer had the space. But the other one responded as well. So I was able to do a book signing there. I just got back this weekend from that. And then I'm landing the plane now. I go to the Congressional Black Caucus, has a conference in DC in September, and that's where we're from. I'm from Maryland, Washington, DC area. So I'm going there to participate in their conference and sell my books there, and I think I'm doing a podcast and a panel as well. And then the following weekend, I'll be back here in Orlando to close it out. And there's a bookstore right here in Avalon Park, the community here that I live in. There's a bookstore that just opened maybe 4 months ago. And so I'm doing my final book signing there, and that wraps up the summer book tour there. And the only thing I didn't mention is the third book. So first one is Presence Driven Leader, which is a leadership book for business, any industry. The second book is the Lee F. Simmons story, which we've been sort of talking around, but we didn't say, is he is the first Black steward on Air Force One. And I tell his story from a children's perspective. I want kids to learn about character, dignity and respect, perseverance, properly prepared. And if you persevere, you do those 5 things, you can accomplish anything. You can come from unincorporated Alabama to the White House. And then the third book that just launched July 21st is Life Lessons from Air Force One, Growing Up Simmons, which is the story of my sisters and I growing up with a very creative mom and a military dad that flies with the presidents. And so that's the third, but not the final.
Of course not the final. So the third book, is that a children's book as well?
It is a children's book as well.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is next year we're probably going to see you speaking with some young people. I think that's coming up, right?
Oh, not even next year. I'm going back to Palm Springs in December, and I'll be speaking at the Palm Desert Library. When I did the launch, here's the other thing. When I did the launch for the Lee F. Simmons story in June, I invited the city council there's like 6 cities that make up the Palm Springs area. And I invited the city council from all of those cities, and 2 of those 6 or 7 showed up. And so the mayor of Palm Desert showed up, which is where we lived when we first moved out there. We lived in Palm Desert. The mayor of Palm Desert came out, couldn't stay for the whole thing, but he came up to me after I had said a few words. We hadn't finished everything, but he came up to me and said, "Hey, we want you to come to our library and talk to our library participants." So we're doing that in December, and I'm doing a leadership session for one of the hotels out there in December.
I love it. I love it, Victor. So congrats on the tour. You gave us so many
Thank you.
gems. I hope if y'all listening or watching that y'all are taking notes, because what you did to make the best of all the moments, right? I think
Yeah,
sometimes we travel and we're like, it's not for business, but you are like, I'm gonna make it about business. If
yeah,
it's a baby
yeah,
shower, is there a bookstore there? I can drop
yes,
my book, right?
yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna be speaking at this conference. Let me see if there's a bookstore there. Oh, you want me to you don't necessarily want me to come and speak, but I'm going to barter because I know that this is a skill and I know it's amazing. Let's do a half day training and then we can run the event here and I can host my own stage. So I think
yeah,
throughout
yeah.
your strategy, the foundation that I see, Victor, is one, relationships, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though in your book, and you said today on this interview, you don't like hearing no, you also are not afraid to ask.
Yeah,
So even
yeah,
though you don't like a no, a lot of the questions, the inquiries, reaching out to all the different city folks in Palm Springs, people wouldn't do that because they're afraid of getting the no. So even though
yeah,
you don't like the no, you don't have any fear around it. And I think if we all can take that, we could be some amazing, amazing business owners. It's just
yeah,
so cool to
yeah,
see. Like, because I
yeah,
know people probably have seen the title of this and they're like, "There's no way this man is out here." And then did a TED talk, released 3 books, and I can't even write a speech. But I think really like you're letting relationships, coaching, and that momentum really push you.
yeah. Get a coach, get some sort of training, and just keep putting one step in front of the other. And you can't, yeah. I couldn't, I never wrote a speech. I put PowerPoints together and do training, but I had never done a keynote before, but I could start, and that's what I would say. Start, and confidence starts coming along the way. The more you just take a little, it's just like eating an elephant, right? One spoon at a time. So it's kind of the same thing in terms of effort. The more I found, the more you do that, you before you know it, you're 3 chapters in. Before you know it, you're four, you're 7 chapters in, or anything along those lines of reaching out to folks. I'm reaching out to hotels as well. When I go to DC, I've been reaching out to hotels to see if, hey, maybe I could do same thing. I'm already out there. I could do some training,
Yeah.
and as well as media. I'm doing the same for DC right now. I missed it. I had 7 more media outlets to reach out to today. I reached out to 15 yesterday, and I had 7 more to do
Still
today.
pitching, Victor.
I
You
missed
still
them.
pitching after
So
the pitch competition. You never stopped.
yeah,
You're still
yeah,
pitching them out. So, quick question for you, just to clarify for the audience, right? You're reaching out to people, saying you can come in and potentially do a training. You're already going to be in the area, right? You're kind of cutting them a deal. When it comes to that process for yourself, you just said I wanted to do 7 more. How do you make sure that you stay consistent and that you stay organized in the process? Because I think that's something that other folks might want to hear as we kind of wrap up our conversation. I know we've
yeah.
talked a lot about you doing it, but what's helping you stay on top of all of this? Because it is a lot to manage.
Yeah, like that as an example, I have a spreadsheet, and so on that spreadsheet, I had all of the media in DC. Same thing, I had it all in Ohio, I had it in Mobile, and I sent out emails initially, and I had that marked on there that emails went out on that particular day.
Mhm.
Then I give it a week. I sent out a follow up email, and then after that, I start making the next day. After that follow email, then I start making phone calls, and I can tell you right now, for Palm Springs, uh, Ohio, New Orleans, none of them responded to emails. It was all I
Phone
ended
call.
up sending out a call. But the thing was, you still got to do it, because when I called, they would say, I said, I'm following up on the email. And then they would say, what email did you send it to? And I would tell them. And sometimes they would say, okay, forward it to this email. Or sometimes they say, oh, okay, I got it right here. And then they would either say, yeah, we're going to get back to you. And once in a while they did. Most of the time they don't. But
Yeah.
if you go on my website right now, you'll see I got at least one in each city. I got at least one TV interview, and in some cases, I got a newspaper interview plus a TV interview plus
Yeah.
or in some cases a radio interview and
Yeah.
nothing else. So
And the great thing about this, Victor, is like once you've done it, when you go back around, right, with your third or fourth or fifth or sixth book, because I'm calling it in 10 books by the end of next year, who knows? And you say, I did this radio show or I did this, right? It's building more
yes,
credibility where
yes.
it'll grab the attention from someone local as well. So it's just adding to that credibility and to that momentum for you.
Yeah, that is how I got one of them. One of them, I got a newspaper article, but I was trying. It was more like a weekly, more like an entertainment paper. But I wanted to be on the Desert Sun because I don't think you can see it in here. But I got like two. I got one, two, three. I have three of the main local Palm Springs newspaper that I've been in over the years.
Oh,
And I
wow.
wanted to be in there for this one. And they hadn't called me back. So I sent them the weekly one that I was in saying, oh, by the way, here's a copy that just came out on the story I've been trying to get your attention on. And they emailed me back and said, oh, we're so sorry, Mr. Simmons. Yes, we'd like to do it. And they ended up doing a story with me
See,
on it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, a credibility push. So,
Yeah.
Victor, I know you got things to do, pitches to send, TED Talks to follow up with. So, I want to wrap up our interview today with any words that maybe you want to leave to young folks who are looking to be speakers around leadership, because I think what's so unique around you is the problem that you're solving, right? You said presence driven leadership, and
Yeah.
you show that in the way that you treat people. It's not just like I'm a leadership speaker, right? Like you have a framework that goes along with that. But any tips that you can give them that you want to leave them with on being able to join this industry and be successful?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I know for a fact is a lot of people shy away from this because they just have a fear of speaking. And it is listed usually above death. When they list what are the things they're afraid of, they usually list public. A lot of people will list public speaking before death. And I will tell you that something that was impactful to me is that we all have stories, and it is our responsibility to get those stories out there. And they usually will help you, but more importantly, they help others. You have a story to tell that will help others. And the more you get up and do this, the easier it will become. So I would say you don't need to be perfect in your delivery of your talk. You don't have to be perfect in knowing how to run a business. I still am trying to figure out how to run my business, quite frankly. And
I love
so
it.
you just gotta get out there and do it. And just echoing my father, who came from a sharecropper's piece of property, less than an acre of land, um, to being on the political stage, with the most powerful men in the world, that influences not just only our nation but the world. And he's right next to those individuals and had some great relationships with President Ford as an example. And if my father can do it, I know I can do it. And if I can do it, I know you can do it. So I would say get out there, just get out there and do it.
I love
Don't
it.
wait to be perfect. You can
Don't
do it.
wait to be perfect, right? Right?
Yeah.
Don't wait and don't wait for it tomorrow, right? Like that's not a
Yeah.
guarantee. I think I
Yeah.
talked to so many folks who are like, that's something I'm planning on launching next year. I'm planning on launching it 6 months from now. And it's like, what's the difference between then and today? We just
Yeah.
don't know what's guaranteed.
Yeah, and I would challenge you when you say I'm going to start it tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to start it next year. This is what my challenge to those of you that are thinking that right now. Well, I'm going to start next year. I would say, well, I would challenge you to start right now, because I can guarantee you can start right now. It's not going to happen in 3 weeks. So you just need to start right now, and before you know it, it will be next year, and you might still be at work. I started all those books last year, and they came out
This year.
this year, right?
Mhm.
So um, you start on it now so that you are ready next year, because there are still so many things that you're going to still need to learn. And if you wait till next year, well, then it's going to be 2028. So
Yep.
what do don't wait. Do not
Don't
wait.
wait.
Start now.
Do not wait. Start now. So where can folks find your book? Like where can they get access to it? And
Yes.
also if they want to bring you in to speak, where do we find information on you?
Yeah. I would say, well, again, I'm going to say it because it tickles me so much. You can get my books anywhere books are sold. However, as the entrepreneur now, right? Got my entrepreneur. Go to my website, because if you go to Amazon, Amazon's going to get more of it than I get, right? So go to my website. Go to victoriousendeavorsconsulting.com. I'm sure we'll get it in the show notes, and you'll be able to get to me for speaking there. You'll be able to get to me for executive coaching that I do there. You'll be able to get my books there. And so go to Victorious Endeavors Consulting .com, and you can get everything you need there. Certainly look me up on LinkedIn and connect with me there. Or I'm on Instagram if that you prefer that, or Facebook if you prefer that, or even TikTok. Especially if you're on TikTok, I only got 55 followers, so just please add to my numbers there. Go to YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button there. You just need to do all the things. Do all the things that work for you. You don't have to do them all, but whatever works for you. But the one thing I will ask you to do, if I can do that right now, is do as Evolve said. Go to YouTube and look up Victor Simmons. Look up how titles make work worse, and take 14 minutes. Take 14 minutes, watch the whole thing. If you've enjoyed this talk so far, watch that talk, watch the whole thing. Then I want you to hit the like button on it. But more importantly, I want you to say on there why that talk resonated with you, why you liked it. And then I want you to forward it to somebody else that you think needs to hear that message.
Yeah, y'all help us get this talk out there. It would be amazing if this talk hit its first 1,000 views.
Yes.
We want to call that in. And I love the strategy around what you're speaking, Victor, because y'all, if you pass it to someone else and they watch it and then they pass it to someone else, right? We get the momentum going. The likes are there, but TED Talks are so powerful because they hit the world, right? Yes. So it also will go beyond your local network. Like imagine someone in Portugal, Canada, around the world hearing these stories. It could be really, really powerful. So please share, watch it. I'm going to post it again, Victor, on my page as well. See if we can get some more folks in there. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I could bring you back because I feel like I could talk to you for a couple of hours. I think maybe next time you can come through and we can talk through your writing process, because we didn't really get into that. But it's just been beautiful to kind of see your momentum. And I hope that this interview really anchors people in possibility and to get off their butts. Get out there and get to it, right? Because other people are doing it and doing it in a very powerful way like you. And it's just great to see.
Yeah. And hey, hit me up. If you say, I saw the podcast and I got a question, I'll take that any day, anytime, for whatever time you need. Just hit me up.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Victor. Y'all, thank you for listening to the Speaking for Profit podcast, using your most valuable resource with us, which is your time. If you liked it and you loved it, please like and subscribe, share it with someone. And if you are interested in growing your speaking business and you're like, you know what, Evolve, I'm trying to get started right now. I need to learn some things. We have an amazing community called the Profitable Speaker Circle, where we have diverse speakers just like yourself in the community, learning, joining the pitch competition, learning different skills, becoming amazing speakers, putting out books. Victor is actually a member, so you can reach out to him in that community as well. But you can join us on School, and you'll see that link in the description, and we would love to welcome you. The only reason we wouldn't welcome you is if you are a bot. So if you are a bot or a spammer, we won't welcome you. But all speakers and consultants, you're invited to that space. And until next time, Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.